Good morning. Today I figured we'd do a couple of small tricks you can add to a Halloween themed bento. I'm not going to do a full one, but I will show you a picture of the one that I did in the last couple of days. We're doing something else for Halloween this year, but these should be some easy things to do. So let's get going. So the first thing we're going to do is set him aside. We're going to do carrot pumpkins, and for this you're going to want to cut your carrot slices just a little bit thicker, not super thick. Maybe I'm going a little thicker than I need to. Three kids. And from, this is all peeled. From here, I'm going to take a paring knife, the little one, and I'm going to try to make sure you can see. I'm going to cut in, and that might look quite far. And we're going to cut in into the center of the carrot anyway, because this one's a fairly big one, and you do want to use a fairly big carrot so that you can get a nice sized pumpkin, because you're going to cut pieces out. So what we're going to do is, after we've made these two cuts here, we're going to come around the side of your carrot and then into that cut. Okay? Try for a better angle. We're going to come around and then down and into our cut. And there we go. We have one little pumpkin. If you want, you can round these edges. And it's just taking your knife and just knocking down that edge. And it looks a little bit more rounded. Might be more your style, might not be. We're going to do that for however many pumpkins you want. I have 3 kids, so 3 lunch boxes, so 3 pumpkins. And then come around. This angle's probably better for you. You're going to come around and then curve down. It's a skill that you're going to have to work on. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but you can do it. Now, if you do get kind of a wonky looking pumpkin, there's nothing saying you can't just trim off a little extra to make it a little more rounded and more to your liking. If you don't like it, then there's no point in doing it, right? And carve here. And I usually only take off the corners of the top side. The bottom side will sit flat, the flatter it is. And no two pumpkins are ever going to look quite the same. That's part of the beauty and something you have to make peace with anything done by hand. And there we are. 3 little Halloween pumpkins. They can work for fall as well. There's a lot of leaf tutorials out there that you can choose. Next thing we're going to be doing is hot dog fingers. Might be a little more on the less easily palatable options that you can have, but it's a thing. My kids loved them. So we're gonna cut about finger size, which means you're gonna have a little snack for you. Now we're going for a thumb, right? So we're gonna do these little grooves here for the knuckle. You're gonna do one that's curved, one that's straight, turn it around, and then another one that's curved. You can do 3 straight ones or 2 curved ones or whatever combination you want, and that's just going to be fine. There are 2 ways to do the nail piece. You can, because hot dogs are curved, you can cut out a curve fairly easily if you take your knife, go super slow, and just slide very slowly back and forth, aiming more or less for your finger, and then popping it off. There's a nail bed. When you boil them, they will pop up a little differently. The other way is to take a cutter that has at least part of it, that has a circle that's about the size you're looking for. I used a heart-shaped cutter. So this is the cutter that I used. It's a little heart-shaped cutter. And what you can do is just use the piece here, right? And just barely break the skin. Turns out these hot dogs have very tough skins. And then you're going to use the same wiggling back and forth motion to pull the nail off, but it will give you a much more uniform and predictable size. But you can also just go a little bit deeper on this one and then curve back up. It's really up to you. And these do have to be boiled. When you boil them, they open up a lot better, I find. They don't taste as good as, say, fried hot dogs, but, you know, sacrifices need to be made. These are going into boiling water for a minute, and we'll see those after we finish with the rest. All my little scraps. The last thing I'm going to show you today is cucumber zombies. Frankenstein's would work really well. And since I have 3 kids, 3 zombies, we want the pieces of cucumber to be roughly even. And you only want the green part, so you can let go of the rest of it. Use it for something else. I'm only going to knock the corners down just a little bit. You want to keep them relatively small because this is a cross section of cucumber, and you want to make sure that your bento lid can fit on properly. Because if it doesn't, then your rice is going to get hard and gross. What's everyone's plans for Halloween this year? It's going to be a very non-traditional year. I know we're not doing trick-or-treating just because there's a lot of people. I don't know these people. We've been going to the same place for years, but this year is I just don't feel like risking myself or them, really. Even if we get a cold and pass it along, you know, then we've got these people getting colds, and it's a lot of older people, and that would knock down their immune system, so they have no chance if they end up coming in contact with a virus. So what we're gonna do, because the skin of cucumber is really hard to stick to, it's very slippery, we're gonna cut in just a bit. So you're gonna take a nice shallow angle and cut in, right? And you're cutting out what will look like a pointy oval. I'm sure that has a name, but I don't know it. Almost looks, you know what that looks like? Groot. And then for here, you're gonna do other pointy ovals for eyes. Let's see, you know, he could work as a green ghost. I think, actually, I like him better this way. Your pointy ovals. Make sure you take your time with small, precise cuts. Sometimes you're pressing a little harder than you think, and things can go very wrong, and your fingertips are the absolute worst place to have cuts that stick around. You know what they almost remind me of? Jack-o'-lanterns. You know jack-o'-lanterns? At the first jack-o'-lanterns that were carved were turnips? I thought that was really cool. Hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm working with, a cyclops. Hope you don't mind the out of frame hands. Quality control is literally breathing down my neck. I think that works. Do you want to see the people? Come here. No, don't run away. You've probably heard her in other videos. She's very hard to keep quiet. And these are our fingers. Just be sure when you're cutting your knuckle lines for your fingers that you're going deep enough. If you don't, they won't really open up. And you're gonna end up with, there's quality control. You say hi. Good girl. These are our Halloween additions to your bentos. You're still gonna need everything else. Like I said though, I will include a picture of the bento I did yesterday. And you can see I did purple rice. And never underestimate the amount of things you can do with rice. But I shaped it into ghosts one year with just plastic wrap. You put plastic wrap in like a small round container and then put your rice in there with a little bit of water. And then you can shape it by hand. Don't forget the faces. Thank you so much for watching. Happy Halloween. We'll see you next time.